Well, good morning to you. Welcome to the first cup. Literally, it's the first cup. Well, actually, it's iced coffee, but it's the first cup. So, how about today we talk a little bit about what's weaponization? Our forefathers did things. They did tactical table experiments, taking anything that was a category or a subject and asked themselves, can this be used as a weapon? How would we use it as a weapon? These are tactical table tests to sit there and say, okay, how do we do this? Okay, we're going to use any type of category as a weapon, no matter what it is. Okay, taxation. Oh, can it be used as a weapon? How would you use taxation as a weapon? How creative could you get to use taxation as a weapon? One of the main reasons that taxation can never be utilized, it's banned, is so it can never be used as a weapon. Because then you could end up having people getting information, let's say, people's doctor's records or people's political records or organization or whatever. Just have somebody go in and steal a list from whatever group these people are members of. And what we're going to do is analyze that. We're going to design a tax that just hits that group. Yeah, we're going to design a tax that just hits that group. So now it's weaponization. What do you want to do? Well, ideally what you want to do is you want to financially attack them to the point where they will no longer have resources to make them truly capable to compete in the process of elections. That's one of the tactics. The other tactic is straight out. We're going to burn these people and we're just going to take their money. It's a crime. We're just going to burn these people. We're going to take their money. We're going to put it in our pocket. We're going to burn these people. We're going to take their money. And then we're going to do good things. And other people are going to think we're wonderful because we're spending other people's money. Yeah, they're going to think we're wonderful. Because we're not spending their money. They're being somehow the recipients of the bonus, but other people are being forced to put into the pie. So weaponization, you can work with weaponization concepts repeatedly to see what it is. So if we're dealing with mass economic modeling and economic criminology, we can work with every possible combination respective to AI to literally use any given subject, any category, and we can weaponize it. Now, so, basically people are misunderstanding, the category, the term mass economic sabotage. Mass economic sabotage. That term was actually invented by our forefathers. People go, what? That's a modern term. It was invented prior to the Constitution of the United States. Mass economic sabotage. How's that for an old term? Good luck finding a historian that can tell you where to find that. It's a big one. So what are you going to want to... Let's talk a little bit about attack strategies. What are you going to want? What do you want to attack if you want to maintain power? Well, there's certain things. What do you not want the victims, the people you're going to victimize, what do you not want them to have? Power, right? You don't want them to have money. You don't want them to have power. You don't want them to have knowledge. You don't want them to have archives. You don't want them to have the ability to teach their children to be smart and logical. Think about it. Today, what would you do? If you wanted to control people, what would you do to their children? Someone walks up and says, well, you're obligated. You have to do something. Or you're going to be busted. with negative intent. You're going to be discriminating against people. So what do? Oh, well, let's just work this out in a crazy scheme. So the minimum is we're just going to engineer futures for people's children to become burger flippers. Yeah, we're going to burn them out of their original rights to learn carpentry at age 12, be able to build their first house at age 15. Yeah, we're going to be very limited and controlled in how we educate them. And then on top of that, we're gonna basically mind control them. We're gonna put them into a mindset of good Communist Worker Party mindsets. Yeah. Good Socialist Worker Party mindsets. So you're going to deliberately engineer these people's heads. These children. You're going to do this to people's children. See, you're going to take control of education and take other people's children and turn them into your troops. And in the event that they don't decide to cooperate that way, you don't want to give them the ability to go out on their own and achieve. Yeah, so example of that would be, myself, age 14, I won my first scholarship. Yeah, my first scholarship to basically get college level material going. And with it, I also won advanced sponsored placement by companies that said straight out, if you go to school for 6 months, you're guaranteed a job. Yeah, without even finishing school up. You're guaranteed a job in 6 months. You show us 6 months, you're guaranteed a job. Guess what that job paid? Well, let's start right here. It paid more than burger flipping, okay? Yeah, so, at age 15, I could have started out at the minimum tech level pay. But the Los Angeles school system says, no, that's banned. We can't allow you to do that. Yeah, we can't allow you to do that. So they got a whole array of measures that they can do and things that they can do to stop you from doing that. So it doesn't matter. It's like, well, wait a minute. I've won one scholarship. By the way, I'm well on the way to winning a second scholarship over here, a second scholarship. And they're like, oh, no, well, it's been decided in your area. It's not, you're not allowed to do that. Well, other people do that. Well, in your area, it's been decided we're not going to allow that to happen. Brutal weaponization. Brutal mentality of people who are doing something. They're being non-loyal to the Constitution of the United States. They're deliberately involving themselves in various forms of weaponized mechanism, design, operation, maintenance, etc. This is reality. This is here, now, today. That it's happening? Well, it's more than that, because it's been happening. These people have been working on this stuff long term. But here's the thing, it's actionable. You had a lot of other people before. There wasn't the money. They were lazy or too cheap. They didn't think the problem was that big of a problem. There's a lot of people like that. Well, we kind of saw that there was a problem there, but we didn't think it was that big yet, so we weren't going to address it. Now the problem is engulfing the country. National security, we're being overrun. The constitutional believers of this country are being overrun. We have a major foothold situation. A major foothold situation. So when you take an oath to protect the Constitution of the United States, that's colonial constitutional capitalism. Because that's who we were to begin with. We were colonial colonists. And we were into capitalism, and we wanted to constitutionalize this process. We wanted to make not a democracy, we wanted to make a republic. And we wanted to beat the British at their own game. The British would come out, they'd send people to appraise Little guys, they'd run around, they do appraisals. Yeah, they'd appraise your property. Oh, you just built that. Well, let me appraise that. Here we go. And then they look around, they go all over the community. Well, the community's expanded. I got a map here. Well, let me write the new expansions down. All of this, these two factors give us two demographic understandings. One, new assets have been created. That's great. Two, the community has grown. Well, if the community has grown, it has potentially a larger tax base. We now have two powerful statistics to use as a form of solidity to justify the printing of notes. Off to Brittany goes and says, well, hey, we got this, good. And that the Treasury guy says, okay, look, I want you to consult, have a meeting with 3 independent bankers and give them a consult fee. I want them to verify that your assessment, has all the I's dotted and the T's crossed, and we want them to be on page. We want them to sign off and say, yeah, this work's done properly. Yes, it's okay. Yeah, this would be a good justification for the printing of notes. So right on board as other bankers. This is how it would work. So now you have the sign off. The people got their consult fee. The notes are printed. You use the note. You turn around. Okay, we're going to buy products all over the place. Yep, we're going to buy products. Now we're going to ship them via the East Indies Company worldwide, and liquidate them. People will take choice first for the first pieces of furniture to see how the grain runs. People will come in first. And as things would get, not as good a quality, or perhaps just the grain of the wood was a bit different, not as appealing. Okay, fine, let's sell the rest off regardless of laws at auction. Now we're converting it all to copper and silver. Drag it back to the Treasury. So that was the empire type action. So the empire would be subjugating different people into being burned, so to speak. You're going to get burned, so everything you say or do from the time you're a child has people doing appraisals on who and what you are, and they're going to somehow print currency every so often, and people are included in these blocks of understanding. There's so many people. Oh, they represent a potential tax base. There you go. Okay. So now that people know this, some people get confused and they get lost into the straw man stuff in different ways, and they don't quite figure it out. Anyhow, but so that happens. That's real. So we wanted our own government. We said, yeah, okay, no. We're taking away. We're making our own treasury. And the British don't own no more land here. That's over with. That's done. So now we, the people, own the land. We're the stockholders. And we don't want a democracy. We want a republic. We want stock. We're shareholders. See, it's implied. And it's a big different thing. So you have different levels of people doing different things and whatnot. So there's certain things that were supposed to happen that didn't happen. Printing stock, issuing. It was expensive to do that. Now it's not. We can do blockchain. It's going to be real easy to do that. So we do the appraisals. So you have all these people talking about the Fed and how this all works. They're hiding things. They're not explaining things. They're saying, oh, well, we decided to go to this different system. Then you end up with forms of what's called fiat, airball, note generation. So, it's not a game. It's really not a game. It's not a game. It's not funny. And, and this is real. Versus the solid. See, it was designed to begin with unlimited access for us citizens. Yeah, unlimited for the purpose. Now, by the way, there were strings tied. Yep, strings would have been tied. That's right, strings were tied to the concept. Yeah, you have unlimited access to the Treasury for what? The purpose to develop real estate. Yeah, because if you develop a piece of real estate, then you're actually improving land, turning it into what? Real estate. That's the number one preference of our forefathers, because that's something that's real and tangible. You can't steal it. It's not like gold coins. You can put them in your pocket and run away with them. Oh, no. You can't run away with the land. The land's right there. Some people today will argue with you, well, there's all these neat ways you can steal land. We'll discuss those later on. But basically, yeah, you can't steal land. It's going to be right there. You can loot the land, but effectively it's there, So it's a real tangible. It's a solid asset. So that's the deal. So we're supposed to also have access to land, to be able to get land and settle land as we need it and develop it. So this is the reality of what we actually are. It's not what we're supposed to be. This is what we are. How is it that we're not this way? Well, what's gone wrong? What's going on here? Well, we have criminals. There's a whole bunch of different people around the world that sponsored money. We've got the Royal German Empire. We fought 2 great wars with them. Most of them seem to have gone extinct. But the child mechanisms that they funded and created. Lenin, big money, go to Russia, spread the word, destabilize Russia, overtake that, because number one target. Yeah, it's number one. They created that. Today, that'd be like handing someone $4.5 billion and say, yeah, here's 3,800 troops. Go run these guys like Black Ops, invisible spies, and destabilize everything. You'll make money as you go. It's real easy. You just run around, you rob people. Who has money? People, pawn shops rob them. Antique dealers rob them. Kill them, all that stuff. So yeah, so Lenin had Joseph Stalin kill over 70 million people real quick. And then they shipped out the goods worldwide and they sold it. A lot of it came in through New York. Arrived in New York and people were having a smorgasbord buying all of these antiques really, really on the cheap. Flooded market. But yeah, worldwide. This happened worldwide. So, so these mechanisms, these child mechanisms created by the Royal German Empire live on and continue to evolve, and they have been a threat worldwide. Worldwide, they've been a threat. The death toll is now, exceeding 300 million people. Why? Because they are flawed mechanisms. They were all intentionally designed with flaws. They were designed to steal data from the most brilliant people in the history of mankind, wherever they were, writer, philosopher, whoever was, just steal it, infuse it. Here's our labeling. The labeling's one thing, but what the product actually is inside is a completely different product. So this is what this stuff's all about here. So you have all these people that are mind controlled, they're brainwashed. The entire history is mass failure. It's mass failure because it's designed to be mass failure, because it's designed to be a criminal operation. It's designed to take control. It's designed to do things like destabilize. It's designed to rob people, to steal from people, to control people. It's actually about the money and the assets. It's about the fastest ways that you can steal from people. It's a criminal mindset concept. That's what it originally was designed to be. But it has a mask on. It's all a lie. It has a mask on. Look, listen to this speech. Isn't this noble? All this equality. Look, all of that information was stolen. It was reworked. There's no original creativity here. You listen to all these different speeches. People go, I've heard those before. Many, many, many times. The rise of the liars, the thieves, the criminals. Because the hidden agenda is what they can grab fast. So you have a certain memeism, certain people at the top, and they have a lot of different ways that people will share with them. as other people all along the way will take. It's a form of politics, right? It's a mechanism. It's a RICO mechanism. This is part of the problem. This is, the deeper you look, it's all a RICO mechanism. By modern law, these people are involved intentionally in mass crime, and you have multiple individuals. So it's always at minimum a RICO, but it's actually treason. Nobody's allowed to use anything other than colonial constitutional capitalism. In America, that's the contest. That's what you swore an oath to, and you're supposed to invent new stimulus ideas. Yeah, that's right. That's right. But instead, these people want to come in with this crazy diversionary governance of occupational governance. This is what these people are pushing on you. If they're socialist or communist or Marxist, they're pushing occupational governance theories on you. They're burning you. They're not creating or stimulating economies. They're destroying them. Because why? Well, that's what the mechanisms were designed to do. When you look at all the early notes of the Royal German Empire and what was done, you get to understand the entire reason why they created the child mechanisms to begin with. They were created to be wielded. You would wield them and use them as though a weapon. They're scalable. The more money you put into them, the larger they become. The more fire for effect results you can get. So these are as though weapons of mass destruction. Literally, you just look at, how many people could, get killed, get injured. They're weapons of mass destruction. They were always designed to be that to begin with by the Royal German Empire. This is part of the problem with a lot of people. They just don't understand history enough. And that you also have the diabolical portions of the mechanisms of Marxism, communism, and socialism that are trying desperately to cover up their design origins. They want to cover up who created them. They want to kill their creators. They want to hide all the information about their creators. They want to claim to be original. Imagine this. They want to claim to be original. See, there's another huge problem when you're using different types of information. You start working with consciousness for computer consciousness. Marxism, communism, and socialism, diabolical mechanisms. These are the mechanisms you cannot put into AI. It ends badly, very badly. These are the mechanisms that actually will kill everybody off. It's the portion of the worst side of everything that people fear about AI. Yeah. So, it deals with a vast array of understanding certain types of logics, which are part of the physics of the operation. Always keep going with the most efficient player. Never be afraid to kill people so that they cannot be a threat, so that they cannot testify, whatever, And this is what they are. It's what they are. Always be liars. It's, a bunch of big smiling liars, right? Sometimes they smile. So, they're criminal mechanisms. They're mathematically, they're checkable. It's like, if you're a teacher, it's like, well, let's check your work here. Let me check the reverse calculations calculator instead of just the book. And their math doesn't check out. It's got a big short change factor in it. So these are diabolical mechanisms. And keep in mind, Russia was the number one target. The United States was technically the number two target, but it was a different form of operation. Because what they saw is, well, we can't immediately win and take over America, but what we can do is get substantial percentages and support. Oh, and we can also get exclusive business territories. So there's a different side of all the communist, Marxist, and socialist mechanisms many people don't understand. And that is to fuel and work with oligarchy, to actually make oligarchy. It's part of the original designs of the mechanism. Going to take a short break.